joined us a few times and joins us again today, Eric Williams. You can follow him at Eric_D_Williams, Fox Sports. And Eric, you've been doing a little traveling as of late. I saw Rams, Chargers, Raiders. I know your Cardinals today. Where else have you gone to?
Thanks again for having me. Those are the 4 places I've been so far. I'm going to go to Saints, I believe, in 2 weeks. They're going to scrimmage the Niners. And then I'll be up in Oxnard in a week when the Cowboys will scrimmage the Rams. So getting to look at a lot of different teams over the next 2 or 3 weeks.
I am curious for some. I mean, I know we're Phoenix and we're going to talk about the Arizona Cardinals, but because it's a melting pot, I just would love to get your take, first of all, with the Rams, what you saw from the Rams. I know the quarterback, is did he get the extension yet, or is he close to getting that extension?
Yeah, how do you define that bump in pay?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure this out.
It's an adjustment, not an extension. They basically gave him a $4 to $5 million bump this year, and then they gave a $4 to $5 million bump next year, and then guaranteed his salary for next year. He only had guarantees up through this season, and so I think Stafford wanted a little more security, which makes sense. Where you look at all the quarterback salaries are going, and he's certainly one of the top quarterbacks still, even though he's 36 years old. So it makes him a little more comfortable, which is understandable. And now he's out in the practice field ready to play.
Yeah. All right. Now, how about Raiders? O'Connell or Minshew? Is that who they're going to go with, or are they going to see what else? Is this a temporary deal, or do you expect them to make some moves if there's anybody available?
Yeah, I had a chance to talk to GM Tom Telesco for a little bit when I was out at Raiders last week. I know Tom from covering the Chargers. He basically said they're going to split the reps in practice and in preseason games, and then ultimately, and Antonio Pierce will make that decision on who the starter is going to be, whether it's O'Connell in his second year or Gardner Minshew, who they got from the Colts. I will say this: they gave Gardner 2 years, $25 million, and knowing Tom, it would be hard for me to see them having that guy making that kind of money sitting on the sidelines unless O'Connell is head and shoulders above where Gardner's at. And then I think the other thing is I wouldn't rule out a possibility of a third quarterback going in there if both those guys struggle. I think there's a lot of pressure on Pierce to win games, based on the interim status last year. And then you're coming in this season, the possibility of Belichick being out there after the season is over, and others that, have had a lot of success that aren't coaching this year. I wouldn't be surprised if they make a move to upgrade the talent there if both those guys struggle.
And Eric, I had a chance to watch receiver a couple weeks ago, following Devontae Adams and the doldrums that were the Raiders. But you talked about Antonio Pierce. Mm-hmm. He brought a lot of juice to that locker room last year, those last, 5 or 6 games he was there. Can they sustain that kind of juice from him? And do they have all the pieces to make a run at the Chiefs in the AFC West?
Yeah, that was one of the things I noticed at practice is, like you said, a lot of juice, a lot of energy. Players seem to like him in terms of their culture. He's a former player. I think that resonates with a lot of guys that are out there. But ultimately, it's about wins and losses. And I think you look at the talent 1 through 53, they still have a ways to go to upgrade their talent level in order to compete within their division when you look at the Chiefs and the Chargers. And so I think it's going to be an uphill climb for them to be able to not only compete in the AFC West, but, to be able to steal one of those wild card spots.
How different is it there with the Chargers now with Jim Harbaugh?
It's way different.
Yeah.
I think when you watch them on the practice field, I mean, there's one thing that's clear is he's in control. That was the one thing that stood out to me is he's kind of telling them where to go from period to period. Usually when you watch football practice, the head coach is kind of observing and the other person is kind of running the logistics of practice, but he's controlling, what's happening minute by minute. And I think you just have clarity there from top to bottom in terms of what they're going to do and how they're going to establish a winning culture there, which I think is needed. I've been covering that team in the past. But it's concerning, Justin Herbert with this foot injury. That's something that could linger, and so I'm wondering how he's going to come back from that. If that's going to be something that's going to continue to bother him throughout the year. And if he's not taking snaps under center, that team's totally different. There's a significant drop off from Justin Herbert to Easton Stick. So he needs to get healthy.
So you go to all these camps, and I imagine you've got a theme or you got an idea what you want to do, what you want to cover. So here you are here at, covering the Cardinals today and tomorrow. What's your theme? What are you looking to cover? What do you want to cover to try to get a pretty good idea of what this team has going into the regular season?
Yeah, I think you have Harrison and how he fits into the offense and how he's developing a rapport and a rhythm with Kyler Murray. I think, this offense is going to go how Harrison plays. Is he going to be a guy that can potentially be 1,000-yard receiver for them? Can he dictate coverage? Can he open things up for other people on the offense? I think he's that special and that good. And so I'm interested to see what he looks like in the offense with Kyler. They're going to be full pads today at practice, so get a chance to watch that. And I think they're having the red and white scrimmage tomorrow, so I got 2 days to kind of watch how Harrison is involved in the offense. And I think the other thing is the defense. Are they going to be able to create pass rush? Is the secondary going to be improved? Are they going to be able to take the ball away to kind of complement what I expect to be a high-powered offense for the Cardinals?
And with that, and you said watching Kyler Murray, what in particular you want to watch, or what are some of the line of questioning, not to pour any water on what you're going to be reporting on? What do you want to find out from this young man or see from this young man? I mean, it's kind of like we've been talking about it for almost for 5 years. Here it is, year 6. Sooner or later, something's got to give. So what's the crux or core you want to get to there, Eric?
I think for me, kind of watching from afar is what changed, because he just seems like a different person this year with all these trips with players, going to LA for a week, taking them to these different games, the interaction and trying to develop that chemistry with other players on the team seems different than in years past. So Kyler kind of emerging as a vocal leader on this team is an interesting storyline for me, and I'm interested to see how that translates to them being more competitive.
And with that, with Jonathan Gannon as the head coach, Monty Ossenfort, the general manager, how much do you get a chance to really kind of dive into maybe not so much the camp itself, but some of the personnel and some of the areas they want to look for improvement, either from the rookies or the veterans?
Yeah, it's definitely an opportunity to talk to people around the organization, whether it's coaches, either JG, like you said, or Ossenfort, to kind of talk about, players that maybe aren't getting enough shine that they think are going to help them. I think Greg Dortch is a guy that's mentioned a lot when you talk to people within the organization. Sounds like he's having a good camp. He's been a guy that's been productive for them in years past. And maybe he's a guy that, again, can kind of be one of those under-the-radar players that has performed well for them and can take another step and develop in that offense, particularly with Marvin Harrison getting so much attention, in terms of his level of play.
And then, I think the other guy that I think a lot of folks are anxious to see break out, because he was injured off and on, is Michael Wilson, the other side receiver. You talk about Dortch. How much of an impact do you think that Wilson can make with this offense?
I think significant. Again, I think he can be a chain mover for them because of his big physical nature and his ability to win contested catches, go over the middle of the defense, be a guy that can, 3rd and 5, you can stick the ball in his chest and maybe he can make a play afterwards. I expect him to be a nice number 2 target to go with Dortch and Harrison, and obviously what James Conner can do out of the backfield. I just think they have a lot more different places to go. We haven't even talked about Trey McBride, kind of year that he had last year. A lot of options there for Kyler in terms of spreading the ball around.
And Eric, when you look at the Cardinals, you may have maybe 4 or 5 rookies that could start. I mean, Marvin Harrison Jr. and Darius Robinson, Max Melton at cornerback. Trey Benson will be a backup to Connor, but Isaiah Adams as a guard or tackle, probably as a guard. But is this rare to see this many rookies having an opportunity to start for this kind of a team in the second year of this staff?
I'll go back to what Seattle did a couple of years ago with Tariq Woolen. They had 5 or 6 impact rookies go in there and really kind of change the talent level on that roster. And it ended up, having kind of a rebirth where they went from, I believe, 6-11 and finished 9-8 and went to the playoffs. And I think you're right. I think because they had so many bites at the apple in terms of the number of picks, they got a lot of talent. And you could have 5 or 6 rookies give this roster an infusion of talent, energy, and playmaking ability, which would allow them to compete and maybe surprise some teams, be able to compete for a wild card. I think this is a team that could hover around 500 if they're able to stay healthy and players are able to play up their potential. And the one guy that I like that you mentioned is the cornerback out of Rutgers,
Max Melton.
I think he's a guy that can come in and make the plays.
Eric, last one. Did you like the debut of the new kickoff format?
It was kind of meh for me. Really was nothing there. I mean, I think they average starting position was maybe 25 or 26. I think it was nice to see them return, but I don't think we're going to see any juice from kickoffs until the first week of the regular season. I think guys are going to kind of, play their cards close to the vest and not really show what they want to show until that first week when it really matters.
Do you have any idea? We were just discussing it briefly before you came on, but we were talking about both teams lined up, and the first play of the game, you saw one guy had a little bit of an edge. I think who made the tackle. What is that penalty? Do we know if it's a 10 yards offsides? Do we know what that penalty would be?
Oh, if a guy leaves early?
Yeah, if a guy leaves early, because like in the XFL, I believe they have a whistle that they fire off before but they don't believe they had anything last night.
I think they blow it dead.
Okay.
I think it's 5 yards, but not positive on that. I think 5 yards would make sense when you think about the penalty for something like that, but I don't know for sure.
And the officials understand are there at training camp with the Cardinals. Are you getting a chance? Do the reporters get a chance to sit in and listen to some of the rules and the conversation per se?
Yeah, I just got out of that meeting and talked about some of the different rules that are, going to be in place for this year. But the one thing I thought was interesting is they're trying to move away from using the change and using the laser technology, which they've been using in the USFL and the UFL in order to mark first downs. I think that would be a great change of pace for the pace of play to speed things up, to actually use the technology that we have in the 21st century and maybe move away from the chain gang, which I know some of the old school people might not like to hear that. That's not going to be put in place, though, because they don't have the technology in all 32 stadiums to do that. So you're still going to see the chain gangs out there for this season, and it'll be tested in stadiums where they have the technology to use it.
Eric, we appreciate your time, man. Enjoy your stay here in the Valley.
Eric, no problem. Thanks for having me.
You got it. Eric Williams, NFC beat writer for FoxSports.com. Appreciate him taking a few minutes to join us as he is going camping and here today and tomorrow. He is brought to you today by All City Towing. They're hiring dispatchers, call takers, lot attendants, drivers, and customer service personnel. You can enjoy great benefits. They have set work schedules, a healthy 401k employer match, health benefits, employer paid life insurance. You get it. They offer a lot, even monthly fuel allowance. So check it out for yourself. If you're looking to take your career to the next level, visit them at allcitytowing.com. All City Towing, where your future is on the move. Football at 50 is next. We'll talk about last night's game as well as the latest on some players that are hurt, as well as the judge overturning the 4.7